Achieved.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to Studio Day Everyday Quarantine. It's nice to see you. I don't know why I start with the mic in the holder when I know darn well I'm going to grab it and lean back to do my broadcasting. Today, I want to talk about something that was very surprising that I was reading this morning that could be awesome for the Cowboys. I got to tell you, Pro Football Focus is going to pick the Cowboys to win like 12 games, maybe 13, just going off of their rankings. So if you heard the radio show yesterday, we were talking about the defensive line rankings, and this is what they did yesterday on Pro Football Focus. They did the defensive lines, and the Eagles and Washington are second and third in the league. So two of the top three lines. Pittsburgh was number one. Dallas, I think, was like 13 or 14. But defensive line-wise, you're going to have to block two of the best three fronts in football, according to Pro Football Focus. Good news about that for the Cowboys, though. You don't have to do that until week 7 or 8, so we can figure out who's going to play center and who's going to play left guard. And you get about 6 weeks to settle in there before you try to handle some of the best defensive lines in the league. But what really surprised me was this morning, as I was perusing, fiddle-farting around, and they had the best linebacker groups in the league. I clicked on it thinking, you know what, Cowboys, they could be in the top 10. I think they could be in the top 10. And number 1 in the league, the Seattle Seahawks. Makes sense, right? Bobby Wagner, probably the best linebacker in football. KJ Wright, really good player. Didn't have a great year last year, but really good player. Drafted Jordan Brooks out of Texas Tech in the first round. Makes all the sense in the world. Seattle, best linebackers in the league? Sure. Second, Dallas Cowboys. Second best linebacker group in the league. If this is true, if this is the case, it's stupid because we do this every year. And I think a lot of fan bases do it where you end up being really optimistic. But wide receivers, Pro Football Focus says Cowboys are number 1 in the league, and I agree with that. If you want to go 3 wide, Cowboys have the best wide receiver group in the league. Agreed. Have them as a top 3 offensive line. I agree. They like Zeke and they love Pollard. So I don't know if I've seen running back rankings, but they'll be high on the running back rankings. Quarterback, you'll be between 4 and 10. So top 3 offensive line, best receivers in the league, top 10 quarterback for sure, top 5 to 10 running backs, second best linebacker group in the league, 13th best defensive line in the league. This is all going to add up to predicting the Cowboys to win 12 or 13 games. And I just don't know. We've been jaded too much. You can't tell the Cowboys they're going to be good or they stop trying hard. They won't try their best. So you got to pick them to win like 6 games. Get them to try their best. But their reasoning is solid here, right? Second best linebacker group in the league, Dallas Cowboys. How do you do that? Well, pointing to last year makes it really tough to do that because last year they were 11th in the league as a linebacker core. 2018, they were second. So that's what they're pointing to, is in 2018, their average grade was over an 80. Leighton Vander Esch was a 84.4. Jalen Smith was an 84 even. So what we're going with here, and this is going to be a theme, and maybe we're scapegoating, but I buy into it. What happened to the Cowboys last year is your offense played really, really well for the most part. Really well for the most part. There were obviously moments where they didn't and games where they didn't. But you had one of the best offenses in football. Your defense was okay. Your special teams were atrocious. And your coaching staff was a train wreck. So can Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith get back to their 2018 forms? My initial reaction is, why not? Why can't guys who are incredibly young get back to the players that they were just a couple of years ago? Of course they can. So there's so many reasons for optimism, and it just makes last year even more of a, why did they keep JG around? Why did they have a special teams coordinator who had never been a coordinator before? Why did they have a linebacker coach who couldn't get along with his players? Why, or his other coaches? Why did they have a defensive, not coordinator, but secondary coach? I mean, he was calling the defense, Richard, who couldn't get along with his players. I mean, everything about last year's team was such a train wreck. It was such a train. I'm sorry, let me go backwards on Richard. I don't know that there's any players that couldn't get along. Sanjay Lal couldn't get along with Amari Cooper. Chris Richard couldn't get along with the linebacker coach. Like, it was all just so atrocious. The offense goes into a shell when it goes on the road or plays against a good team. And it's this dangerous business to just go, coaching staff, your fault. You're gone. Now it's winning time. But I really think a lot of it could be that simple. It could be that simple where why can't the Cowboys have one of the best linebacker cores in the league? What could Jalen Smith be? I think he'll always have some liability as a coverage guy, but he can be a really impactful run defender. He can make tackles for loss. He can rush the quarterback. Van Der Esch can be the guy who doesn't miss tackles and can play coverage for you and can match up with backs and tight ends. That can be a thing. I was just really surprised to see him at number 2 in the entire league when last year you wouldn't even say the linebacker group was good. If you had to pick between good and bad, I might say bad, but that was everybody. Safeties aren't doing their jobs. Defensive linemen aren't holding their gaps. Linebackers aren't playing their gaps. Everyone's missing tackles. It was such a train wreck that it can't get anything but better. I was just really surprised to see top 2 in the league, according to Pro Football. And they're projecting what they think that these guys can do based on what they've shown us in their career. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch in 2018, dude didn't miss tackles. He's unshakable. And Jalen Smith, he was good too in 2018. He was really good. So let's see it. You know, if that can be possible, which, look, 2 years ago, that's the way they graded them. Second best group in the league. So, sure, that's possible. Defensive line, if Aldon Smith can make some sort of impact, you've got Tyrone Crawford back. You're upgraded at the defensive tackle spot. If you can go back to having a top 5, top 3 linebacker core in the league, I think your defensive line will be solid. Then it just depends on your secondary. But, I mean, goodness gracious, how much do you want? Top 3 offensive line, best group of receivers, top 5 to 10 quarterback, top 5 to 10 running backs, top 5 linebackers, solid defensive line. You got to be weak somewhere. And for this team, that may very well be the secondary. But it really does. It makes sense to me. I've seen people, I think it was my guy Adam Shine from NFL.com, who I've banned from the show at different times. And I'll ban him again if he comes out with a bad list. But the Shine, man, he's picking the Cowboys to be the 1 seed in the NFC, and I got to tell you, it's possible. It's totally possible. It's doable. All right, let's get to the mailbag. Where do you think the Cowboys linebacker core ranks in the league? Because I would say last year they probably, to me, ranked like 15th, if that. But it's possible. Now, other things I wanted to get to. I don't think I have time for the safety position value stuff or the Garrett stuff that I wanted to get to. Yeah, I got some more Dak defense to throw at you guys. Maybe I'll do it a little bit later on today, or I'll do it tomorrow. But let's hit the mailbag. I like to make sure if you guys leave questions in the comments on each video that I take care of them the next day. Oh, also remember, please mash that thumbs up. Man, I'm enjoying this video. Make sure you're subscribed. Tell your friends to subscribe to youtube.com/Jeff Kavanaugh. It's very important. Jose says, Dak question. We all know he's a competitor. We've seen him run knowing he has a good hit coming. But do you think he'll risk his body less this year with no long-term security? I think it's instinct. I don't think you can turn it off. Carson Wentz came off a torn ACL, and I think in his first game back, he's out there diving headfirst for a first down. So I don't think you can go into a game and turn off. It's 3rd and 3, nobody's open. I see an opening, but no, I'm not going to, because what if I get hurt going into next? I don't think you can turn that off, so I'm not worried about Dak in that way at all. Where do you see Dak improving the most from 2019 to 2020? And don't say consistency, because we all know that every QB can be more consistent. Also, what would Zeke need to do on the field to justify his contract, in your opinion? And he said justify, because it's only me who doesn't like his contract. Dak, the only thing that Dak, I think, can continue to improve on is ability to hit second and third reads quicker and more concisely, and ball placement. I think he leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of, all right, my guy's running a crosser. Where am I putting the ball? Am I going to put it right here? Or is he going to have to go up for it? Is he going to have to slow down for it? So the short to intermediate ball placement and ability to bang, 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 process through second and third reads, I think that's where you got to go. It was deep accuracy and stop taking sacks for me a year ago for Dak, and he nailed both of those things. And he was awesome at both of those things last year. So if I had to nitpick Dak, that's what I would go with this year. And for Zeke to justify the contract, and just pretend I'm not talking about Zeke. Pretend I'm talking about Derrick Henry, okay? Pretend I'm talking about Christian McCaffrey or whatever other running back, Le'Veon Bell, who has a big contract, because this is not a Zeke thing. This is a don't pay the running backs thing. For me, for a running back to justify taking up, what is the salary cap, $200 million, and even if you're just taking up 5% of the cap for one player that plays running back, even if you're just making $10 million. To justify that, I need to see a massive difference from you to somebody else. Like, my starting running back would have to average over 5 yards a carry, and his backup average 4 yards a carry or worse. But for the Cowboys last year, it was 4.5 for the starter, and it was 5.3 for the part-timer in Pollard. So that's the trouble, is that if you wanted to tell me I got to pay this running back, you've got to show me the massive drop-off from him to another capable running back. That's the thing with running back, is so much of it is dependent on how well did you block for me, how good is my quarterback, what is our passing threat. So Zeke's good. Zeke's not special. There's very few special running backs, and I thought he would be one, honestly, coming into the league. But I think for a guy who couldn't break any long runs last year, doesn't break tackles, he's special as a goal line guy and a 3rd and 1 guy. He's very, very good at that. But I don't pay for that. Call pass plays. You don't pay for that. Can you list the teams that you think would be interested in Dak if he leaves in free agency next year? With all of the young QBs in the league, there aren't that many teams, in my opinion. Oh, man, I should have pulled this up. I should have been ready for this. Indianapolis, they got Rivers on the short deal. Jacksonville, they're rolling with Minshew for now, but who knows? So Jacksonville, Indy. I'm just going to have to pull up a list of all NFL teams, and I'll tell you. Cleveland, if Baker's bad. Let me just say it'll be at least 4 or 5. And that's all you need for a good old-fashioned bidding war if you hit unrestricted free agency. Let's see. Colts. Oh, the Bears. Foles versus Trubisky right now. So, yeah, definitely the Bears would be interested. Cousins' deal will run out with the Vikings, so I'd imagine they'd be interested because he's better than their guy. Jacksonville, Chargers, but they got Herbert there. Saints, depending on if Breeze is still going to be there. Raiders, because they're about done with Derek Carr, it seems like. Steelers, Washington, if Haskins, there's a lot of teams. If you have a really good quarterback in his prime that hits free agency, there's going to be plenty of teams that you're not even thinking are interested in a quarterback that may suddenly become interested in a quarterback. Patriots, Cam's on a 1-year deal, right? No. Stidham, come on. Maybe Carolina, where they got Bridgewater. So there'll be teams. I'm sorry about the running back rant. I can't turn it off. I can't stop it. Just don't pay running backs. I love you, Zeke. I think you're good at your job. I'm glad you got paid. I'm glad every player gets paid. I just don't want my team to be the one in a league with a salary cap restriction to pay a position that you don't have to pay. Jimmy Cruz, what's your favorite book you've read in the last 2 years? Probably either Brené Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, or I've been reading Dresden Files. It's about a wizard in Chicago. Could we see an Amari Cooper situation with Dak Prescott when he hits the open market? No. People don't have as many questions about Dak as they have about Amari. Amari got traded once. I think there's a lot of What's going on there? Like, why does he fade in the second half of the season? Why isn't he as good on the road as he is at home? What happened with the Raiders? I think there's a lot of that. With Dak, there's a lot less than that, and he plays a much more important position. If you were Steven, Jerry, would you give a hard deadline before you trade Dak next year? That's from Chad Loveland. Yeah. You can't. The only thing you can't do is lose a star quarterback for nothing. So if you get to next year and you tag him and you're getting towards the deadline, you're like, man, we can't work out a long-term deal. Trade him. And I don't want to trade him, but that's what you got to do. You get a 1, maybe 2 1s, or a 1 and a 2 and a 4. You can get a lot for a quarterback in his prime that another team's willing to open up the pocketbooks for. All right, I'm going to hold on to the rest because I got to go to the grocery store. I got to make breakfast, okay? I love you guys. Leave in the comments your favorite toppings on ice cream. Are you a sprinkles guy? Do you like caramel? Like the candy-coated chocolate? I don't know, back in the day at Golden Corral, I would put gummy bears on my ice cream cone, and it was delicious. And do you prefer the waffle cone, or what's the other one called? It's called, is that the sugar? Is that called a sugar cone? Who cares? I'll see you guys on the radio. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got the notifications turned on. Check 1053thefan.com every day. I love you.